And as you know, if you've been following the news for the last, I guess it's been 2 weeks now, where the president of Dr. Allen of Lincoln University contract was not renewed. And in fact, the treatment that I read has been pretty darn shoddy to treat somebody that way. And again, it goes back to something, Emma, you and I talk about how we treat each other.
Yes.
That's right.
And the nastiness of it all. It is just unbelievable. And so we have with us today Rosalie Hornbuckle and Terrell Smith. And good afternoon, Rosalie, and good afternoon, Terrell.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
So please jump in and tell us what is going on over there.
Terrell, why don't you start?
Yeah, so it is exactly how you described it, as well as what we see in the news outlet today. It is a situation where the Board of Trustees decided in the midst of a global pandemic and the worst global recession that we've ever seen to disrupt the continuity of leadership at the nation's first historically black college and university without giving any explanation as to why and breaking laws to do so. So, I mean, it is an unfortunate situation.
And the situation, to expand on what Terrell has said, is the fact that prior to Dr. Allen's leadership, the university was not doing well in terms of middle states accreditation, was not doing well financially, had lost the support of alumni donation, and had low enrollments. Dr. Allen comes on board. We passed middle states with flying colors. Middle states says to us, you are lucky to have someone like this. Dr. Allen not only leads that effort, but she actively participates in that effort with faculty. We have not had a president who has had the support of all constituents, faculty, staff, alumni, students, parents, and Commonwealth government, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and our senators since probably Horace Mann Bond. And now we have somebody, and we have the this rogue board, and it's primarily the executive board of the alumni, with an exception, with a couple of exceptions there, but led by Chairwoman Teresa Braswell and former Chairwoman Kimberly Lloyd.
Well, Rosalie, can I ask why something similar happened to me, and I never knew why when things are going so well? What do you think? Why are they doing this? What is the real reason they're doing it?
That would only be speculation on my part. So I can't even begin to think in the manner that they've thought in. I can't. I just, when Dr. Siddharkasa was being removed, I was the one that went in at that time, and I went in to preserve the respect and treat her with the respect that she deserved. And we gave her the reasons why. We made sure that there was a good separation agreement that would cover her for the remainder of her life. We made sure that she had time to exit. So I can't think like these individuals, and I'm sorry, I can't give you a why. We're only focusing on the fact that it is being done. It is not being done within it's breaking the sunshine laws of the state of Pennsylvania, as you probably have seen in the governor's complaint and Dr. Allen's complaint, and it's violated the majority of the bylaws of the university.
So they said, Rosalie, that there were. Do you know who the votes the names of the people who voted against her contract?
We do. We do know that the contract was an 11 to 11 vote, not to renew. It was done it wasn't done in the public, so that was one of the major violations of the Sunshine Act. Terrell, do you have that detailed information up with regards to who voted against the renewal?
Yeah, so I mean, the issue here is, again, exactly how Rosalie pointed out. And I think it's good to give some clarity. Rosalie is a former trustee, and I, too, served as a trustee at Lincoln University when I was Student Government Association president in 2015 to 2016. And so the issue is that the Sunshine Act mandates that these kind of votes need to be taken in public. And what they did was they called an executive session. They called all the trustees into another room on Zoom, and they held the meeting privately, and they held the vote privately. And one of the major issues is they didn't just go into the other room and take the vote. They actually had it be a secret ballot where even the other board members don't know actually who voted and how they voted. So, I mean, double secrecy, which is just absolutely out of the norm and against the law, which is what you see referenced in the lawsuit that the Attorney General
yes.
and submitted, which is huge, as well as the lawsuit that President Allen herself has offered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. What I can say is we have gathered just based on the what we've heard from the trustees who voted yes, which turned out to be 11. So it was 11 to 11 when it was announced 11 to 10 again. What we deciphered based on that and based on the trustees who have always, there's a group of trustees who have always, for whatever reason, gone against Dr. Allen in terms of these initiatives. So we've been able to decipher who voted against Dr. Allen in that regard. And so that is posted. We formed a group relatively quickly after we, a fellow alum, Charles Latta, class of 81, put out a petition to save Dr. Allen before the vote, and it garnered about 14,000 signatures from alums. And,
so it was, hold up a second, it was 14,000 alumni, alumnus who signed the petition to save her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
14,000, and I think an important clarification here is not just alumni, 14,000 alumni, students, faculty, and friends of Lincoln University. So the entire university community participated and vocalized this. And even to give some greater context, I know the National Alumni Association of Lincoln University actually submitted a letter to the chairlady of the board before the vote was taken, requesting that they support Dr. Allen and keep her in. The governor of Pennsylvania sent a letter to the Board of Trustees expressing support for the contract renewal of Dr. Allen. Members of Congress who represent Pennsylvania submitted letters to the Board of Trustees requesting Dr. Allen's contract to be renewed. So not only was there a 14,000 signature petition, but you had the leadership of various constituencies reach out and express support, and that was totally ignored.
Right.
Can you speak to the fact, can you tell us a little bit more about, there were 5 appointed trustees that were left out of the vote, and that became a larger controversy. Are you able to speak to that?
Yes, we can, and that was we're able to speak to that. It was cited in our complaint, Lions for Change, and to the Ethics Committee of the state of Pennsylvania, and it was also cited in the governor's injunction against Ms. Teresa Braswell, and other unnamed persons of the Board of Trustees. And so what happened was the Commonwealth appoints trustees to the board. The requirements for the Commonwealth appointments are that 2/3 of the legislature, if it's from the legislature, approves the trustees. The governor, the Secretary of Education, and the President of Lincoln University are all ex officio members of the Board of Trustees. The governor and the Secretary of Education appoints a designee, of which I used to be the Governor Wolf's designee, appoints a designee in order to vote on their behalf. There were 5 people, 3 who had been appointed since January. They were not allowed to participate in the vote, even though that day, right before the meeting, the Attorney General of the state of Pennsylvania sent a letter to the chairlady and it was distributed to all the other board members, letting them know that the Commonwealth appointees had to be able to join the board and participate in any meeting. And
did they? Excuse me for a second, Rosalie. Those appointments by the governor, are they voting members of the board?
They are all voting members of the board. There are appointments by the governor, by the legislature, and then we do know that the trustee for the Secretary of Education has been on the board and has been very helpful and to us in this situation, Mr. Noe Ortega.
Okay, and so please continue and tell us the significance of the 5 appointed trustees and their lack of ability in voting. Please continue.
So not only did the AG send a letter, he called the chairwoman prior to the meeting, and she assured him that they would be able to vote. The secretary of the Board of Trustees, Ms. Frances Paul, did not put them on the roll call, and Mr. James Jordan, who was the person handling the Zoom meeting, locked everyone out from Zoom in terms of muting everyone on the call, including trustees, those 5 appointments, and did not give any controls where they could unmute themselves. The vote was 11-11, 11 for and 11 against renewing the president's contract. If those 5 trustees had been seated, this would have been moot today.
Right.
The vote would have been 16 for renewing the president's contract and 11 against. So that's the significance of where we are.
Okay, great.
And if I can jump in, I think an additional point of clarity here that I think particularly the listeners need to make sure that they understand is that the Commonwealth appointees are appointees. They're not recommendations. They're not nominations. They are appointed. Once they receive the proper procedure as it relates to having their appointment ratified either by the governor, the state house, or the state senate, they are immediately in office as trustees. And this has been the case for years. When I was on the board, there were no votes. The appointees didn't go through any vetting from the university. Once they were appointed by the Commonwealth, they were full-fledged trustees. And this has not happened.
I'm glad you mentioned that because they said that they had not been vetted. That was why they weren't allowed to vote. But there's no vetting process, is there, for the board?
No.
There is no vetting process for the board. As I stated earlier, I was
like they made up the
Governor
rule.
Wolf.
They did.
I was Governor Wolf's designee, and
Right.
I was, the minute I was They sent in a letter letting him know that I was the designee. The September meeting had already passed. I started receiving information with regards to the board, information with regards to the agenda items coming up, and I just joined the board meeting in February. And we have to understand that 3 of these board members were on the list as trustees. 3 of these Commonwealth trustees were on the list since January. So for them not to at least see the 3, if that was pertinent, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But with Rosalie, I still can't put my arms around the opposition. Is there more you can tell us about why they oppose her?
That's it.
I have no idea, because even in the letter that they sent out to the alumni and to the community, saying that they were removing Dr. Allen, they thanked her profusely for all of the things that she's done, moving Lincoln University up to the top 20 under U.S. News and World Report within HBCUs, increasing the graduation rate, increasing the endowment through donations, getting grants for the university that, we haven't had a president to do that in years. So I don't know. And I also am very suspect as to the motive, because if we look at a couple of things, right, we know that they retained and have been searching for an interim president 6 months ago.
Wow.
So we're gonna go to break, and we will be back in a few minutes, and we'll pick up there. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com, and we'll be right back.
Check out the Source lineup on WURD Radio. Mondays, get ready for the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith. On Tuesdays, it's Andrea Lawful Sanders. Then on Wednesdays, it's the Black Women's Leadership Council. On Thursdays, it's a second helping of Andrea Lawful Sanders. And on Fridays, it's Tiffany Bacon. Don't miss the Source. Monday through Thursday, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. and Fridays, 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and on the WURD Radio app.
In Pennsylvania, everyone counts, and everyone needs to participate in the census. Our population count determines our voice in government and how much federal funding our communities receive for health care, food assistance, education, transportation, housing, and more. So every infant and child, every foreign and U.S. citizen, everyone matters. For a stronger future, we all need to count. To learn more, go to pa.gov/census.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
What's up, Philly? It's Sincerely Sarita. What a year. COVID-19 has shaken our communities to their core, and as we bravely but cautiously dare to consider life on the other side, we need to admit that things may never fully return to normal. But maybe that's not such a bad thing, especially when we consider the education of our children. Commonwealth Charter Academy, with nearly 20 years of experience of providing online education, is now enrolling for the fall. Visit ccaeducate.me for details. Here are the benefits to your family. Online public education complete with a laptop and headset, all at no cost to you. World-class instruction experienced in the safety of your living room over the internet with absolutely no cost to your family. Access to a flexible schedule that accommodates your work or extracurricular obligations. Visit ccaeducate.me today and discover the advantages of Pennsylvania's largest public cyber charter school as our communities emerge from this pandemic with hope, wisdom, and spirit.
You're listening to The Source with Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
The turbulence surrounding you, these trying times are so hard to endure. In the middle of what seems to be your darkest hour, hold fast your heart and be assured.
You're listening to Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com, and we're back. So we keep saying, we're missing something. We keep asking the same question over and over again. What is this about? Okay, because it's nothing that we have heard is making sense of why you would want to remove her. Is there some underlining story here that we're not getting?
Right.
Is there something else going on? Because none of this is making sense. And Emma said it's just jealousy.
Right.
I have no idea. As I was beginning to say, the motive seems to be, it's like a mystery novel or something, and we're going to write the book as soon as this is over, I'm sure. But if you look back, even back to 6 months ago, we know that they contacted the registry, in order to put in an interim president and have them work on an interim president. And we know that because one of the former presidents from Clark, Atlanta, actually reached out and said, "Hey, I just got contacted for this, and there's no way I'm going to touch this." So we know that. I've been in touch with the registry to ask them to clarify. They indicated that they were going to send us a statement from their attorney, to which I haven't received yet, and the attorney, along with this, the attorney that they are using, Tom Collins, I think he's from Buchanan Ingersoll. They went out, and the cheerleading went out and got this attorney, didn't have it ratified by the Board of Trustees, and they're utilizing Lincoln's money to pay for all of this stuff. And so Lincoln University, to throw, to put salt on everything else, you are utilizing scarce resources from a historically black university that should be going to faculty and students for the pursuit of our mission, which is education of African American young people. And then they have the nerve in their statement to Fox 29 News to bombast the governor and the attorney general, claiming Black Lives Matter, and why are white people getting involved in attacking a HBCU. So they're getting involved because they got the 15,000 signatures from all of these people, the majority of them African American, asking them, begging the governor to get involved. And I commend the governor's office and the attorney general's office for getting involved, staying the course, and we want them to keep on.
This makes me. Lincoln is a state-related school, correct?
It's state-related, yes.
So that, and your funding comes through the governor and the state legislature, correct?
A significant portion of it.
Yes, well, not 100%, but you're a state-related, so you get the state-related. You get some embeddeds that is in there that support the state-related schools. And so And in order to, I got a real job other than this microphone that we do some of that kind of work. Okay, so when you're doing budget, you have you have embeddeds and you have state relateds, and every year you go for the money, and you have to go past the appropriations chairs of each of the caucuses at the state, and one of the caucus chairs of appropriations for the Democrats is Senator Vincent Hughes.
Yeah.
Who supports her. So what's the logic of this if you got the governor who's going to impact on that?
Right.
You've got an appropriations chair who's going to impact on that. And if you need any federal dollars, you've got people from at the Fed level. Are these just, and I'm known to go off the rails a little bit. Is this just crazy women acting up?
At the trustee level.
At the trustee level? Because nothing that you have just told me makes any sense to me.
Well, if I could just jump into that and add two important points here. You mentioned Senator Vincent Hughes. Senator Vincent Hughes spoke during the public comment before the board took the vote and implored them to renew Dr. Allen. So I mean, it's just preposterous what this board has done. And, it's really unfortunate. And here's my thing to tie back to something that was mentioned earlier as it relates to, what happened, what is the reasoning of the board for taking this decision. Now, we all have been around the block for a while. When a university is trying to remove a president because the president has done something wrong, normally in a situation like this, they would let something be known. Even if they're going to specifics, they would give some sense of context. And when you take this backdrop of having the entire university community imploring a renewal, you would think that the board would be very clear in stating, we understand and acknowledge all of the correspondence we've received expressing support in President Allen, but due to reasons we cannot discuss publicly that are a detriment to the institution, we must move in another direction.
Right, but they never said that. But so Terrell or Rosalie, this definitely has to have an impact on the students and the family. The instability that's building around this issue, the press that's building around this issue has to impact the students and the stability that they need, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. We're not sure how the university is going to move forward with bringing students back to school, but when you have this kind of instability internally, it impacts on how the students and families feel. Can you give us some insight on that?
Well, Rosalie, if I can just jump in really quickly here. When you mentioned the students, the Student Government Association expressed a vote of no confidence in the Board of Trustees last week due to everything that's going on, which has not happened in decades at Lincoln University. The situation at Lincoln, a lot of people don't understand. As of right now, there is not a provost at Lincoln University. The provost position is empty.
Why is that?
When you talk about trying to figure out, you would have to ask the Board of Trustees why that has been allowed to happen on their watch. But when you mention students trying to figure out how they're coming back and what safety measures are going to be in place, the two most essential people on campus, the university president and the university provost, are not there.
Right.
And then if I can put it in I've worked in higher ed for many, many years, and I go into looking in higher ed as a business. And so let me put your question in a different way and the impact. The freshman class are the seed for the financial stability of every institution. Those are the seeds that we grow and we plant. The freshman class is in terms of acceptance, is the most vulnerable class in terms of coming to your university. They may or may not show up, and in light of the pandemic, why don't I stay home and go to community college, and then I'll figure it out later on.
Right.
So Rosalie, we have the lines are backed up, so we want to take these calls real quick while we have you guys on. So we're going to go to line 1, Sutan from North Philly.
All
I'm not going to interfere with you. Yes, I will call back. I had something I wanted to follow up with your other guests.
Okay, thank you, Sultan. Thank you. Brother Timothy from South Philly.
Yes. Ladies.
Yes.
Council, it's a pleasure. You do a lot of good work, and you have some phenomenal people that's from Lincoln, and I'm a Lincoln man.
Okay.
All right.
That's right. And I remember Rosalie's husband, Hornbuckle, when he was on Line 5 for 1979. That's right. And I remember when Dr. Allen was on line in 1979 in the fall. I remember all that. And I'm a class of 83. Brenda's a class of 81. And she was a phenomenal person. If you met the people during that era, 83, 81, 82, they left Lincoln and did a lot in the communities. But she was one who left Lincoln and came back to build her university. See, that's the difference.
Yes.
That's what we do. Now, she's phenomenal. She increased enrollment. She has brought money to the school. And she ran into a brick wall. Everybody tells you she did nothing wrong. Her record is good. Now, Charles Ladders did a good job with the petitions. John Milliken spoke. Matter of fact, I was there this Saturday. We marched from the new gate to the old gate. Student government was there. And you had John Lawrence, who's a state legislator. Yes. In the Attorney General's office. And let me tell you something. If Horace Mann Bond wrote the history of Lincoln before he left in the 20s, that's when it was a gender school, Brenda Allen's going to write the history of Lincoln from the perspective of a woman. And I'm going to tell you something. She will be back. Believe it. And those people who are trying to stop and block a place where it's the greatest hit machine of scholars, Langston Hughes, Thurgood Marshall.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Exactly. The lady who's a lieutenant governor of Jersey, Oliver. Exactly. So many people. I can go on and on. We will not let anybody take down our legacy in our university.
That's right.
And we will be back, and she will be back to do what she has to do. So we can have the incoming class of freshmen coming and senior class graduating. During the pandemic, if Lincoln University has survived and was graduating people doing shadow slavery, when the slavery going, Lincoln was giving bachelor degrees to men. And eventually became a gender school. Remember now, Civil War heroes graduated from Lincoln and fought in the Civil War in the 54th. And guess what? It goes on and on and on. And we will be back and better. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for your call. We're going to go to line 3, Reverend Joe.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies. I just want to get not change the subject, but when I was pastoring one of the big churches here in Philadelphia, I would check on all the seniors who locked themselves in the house and closed all the windows up in this heat. It becomes the oven. So anyone that has someone in their family that's a senior or members of the church, and check on them, because I'm telling you, a couple of people in the church I was at the time died because that's what didn't have any ventilation. So if you can check on that, that makes sense to me.
We'll keep putting that out. You're absolutely right, because this is the time of year that this heat wave does, and it kills people, and we need to make sure we're looking in on all of our elders. You're absolutely correct.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Line 4, Curtis Thomas.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Curtis. Long time no hear.
Pretty good. You know, I retired in November of 18.
Yes, we know. We you have a great young man who replaced you too.
Yeah. At one of my students, good people. And I want to just bring out a couple things. Number one, I've probably sat on Lincoln's board probably longer than any other Philadelphia. And there's a lot of young people from North Philadelphia who probably couldn't go anyplace else and wanted to go to Lincoln and went to Lincoln, graduated, back in Philadelphia doing well.
That's right.
Let me say a couple of things, because my passion and my interest is in the institution and the students at Lincoln. I am not going to participate in lifting up one African American woman and tearing down another. Only to this extent, I think it's important for people to understand that Dr. Allen's contract expired on June 30th. And the issue of whether or not she should be retained or not retained rests with the 27 members of the board, 23 members of the board. And I think and I urge the board to carry out its statutory authority and resolve this. I don't think that Kurt Thomas, the Attorney General, the Governor, and all of these people, other people, should not get caught up in favoring one over the other, because at the end of the day, I think both the board and the president has done a pretty good job, and they at a crossroads in deciding whether the current president should be retained or should she not be retained. And so I'm chiming in to say that the board needs to carry out its responsibility. And one of the things that I find kind of interesting is there hasn't been any real conversation on why retention should be dealt with, or why there's some board members who don't think that a contract should be renewed.
Right.
And so I urge the board to take care of its business now. You know, like I said, I was on the board longer than anybody else in Philadelphia, with maybe the exception that came close to me was the late Senator Hardy Waits, who worked very tireless on behalf of Lincoln University. And so I asked the public at large, if this was, Lincoln is a state-related university that has some private status, along with the University of Pittsburgh, Temple University, and the University of Pennsylvania. Temple receives about 23% of its revenues from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. All other revenues come from other avenues of funding and revenues. And so this board has responsibility to do it. And from what I understand as of today, this whole issue has been resolved. It's my understanding that the board will be meeting on July 31st or sometime before the end of the month and seat the 5 members that was nominated back in November. They would have been seated by now, but because of the governor shutting down the government, the need to take in consideration the safety and security of folks, and also a need to make sure that these nominees are at least provided some orientation as to the history and future of the university, and introduced to the other members of the board. So because of circumstances outside of our control, I think that's why the new members have not been added to the board. But I understand that they will be seated with the board, and once that is resolved, then the full board should then get to work on deciding where do we go from here.
Well, Curtis, I respect what you... Hold on, I'm going to let you respond because you deserve to have a response. And we're going to go to... Do we have to do break? So we're going to go to a break, and we'll come back. And Curtis, you stay on, because I want you to hear this response. But I'm troubled by your statement. So let me just say that. And we're going to go to a break. You're listening to Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com, and we'll be right back.
Emerge is a public service announcement campaign produced by Mural Arts Philadelphia and sponsored by the City of Philadelphia to inspire our community to emerge resilient and hopeful in the face of COVID-19 and systemic racism.
Corona don't own us. How you stay focused? How I stay focused, simple, educating, meditating, and telling the youth to be patient. We in the yellow stages. This is not basic. Anybody can catch it. It's not about racists. Please pay attention what I jot in my cadence. How do we emerge? Do you go and get a pen and start working on your words? I know. Do you pray? Knees planted in the dirt. I had nothing but time to show the world what I'm worth. Is it real for you to heal when your community destructive? Let's rebuild our community. The people call it justice. We will emerge.
To learn more, go to muralarts.org/emerge. How will you emerge?
Times are changing, and you deserve a system designed to grow your business. Meet Jaxcom, the new standard in business class voice. Only Jaxcom gives you the most features per dollar. Things like visual voicemail, call monitoring, advanced call queues, virtual assistant, plus a lot more. The stuff the other guys charge you extra for or don't have. Jaxcom proudly supports Black-owned businesses. Reference WURD for 20% off any plan. Jaxcom. Visit us online at jaxcom.net. That's JAXCOM.net.
Always Best Care is a great place to work. Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Show some love for your favorite neighborhood with WURD Radio. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays now through August 20th from 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Shining a light on Philadelphia's neighborhoods with a focus on neighborhood history, Philadelphia's freedom fighters, and community resources that are helping to shape the city's future. Mondays with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, and Thursdays with Andrea Lawful Sanders. It's the Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour. Mondays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. till 2:30 p.m. Exclusively on WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, and on WURD TV via YouTube and Facebook. The Summer of Freedom Virtual Neighborhood Love Tour is sponsored by Wells Fargo and PICO.
You're listening to The Source with Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Don't hold back, no, Lord. Don't hold back, pass on the love to the little children. Don't hold back, well, don't hold back, no. Don't hold back, pass on the love. Well, listen, I woke up worried today. Can't help but wonder why. I see all these little children, disillusion in their eyes. There's no one to look up to who will set their spirits free. I swear those days are over. The change begin with me. We got to break through the fear. We got to bust through the hate. Reach out of arms, pass on the love to the little children. Don't hold back, say it again. Don't hold back, Lord have mercy. Don't hold back, pass on the love. Say it again. Don't hold back, no, don't hold back. Don't hold back, don't hold back, pass on the love. Well, listen, today we turn the corner. We got to start to make things right. We got to come step out from the darkness. We're switching on the light. We got to teach our children the sense of worth and pride. We better get to feeling their emptiness inside. We got to break through the fear. We got to bust through the hate. Reach out of arms, pass on the love to the little children. Don't hold back, say it again. Don't hold back, Lord have mercy. mercy, don't hold back, pass on the love. Says one more time, don't hold back, don't hold back, don't hold back, don't hold back.
You're listening to Black Women's Leadership Council on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com, and we're back. So, I know all of us want to jump in on what Kurt Thomas said. First, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, the problem is, and then I'm gonna throw it. I know I feel you, Rosalie. Okay, I feel you. I know I feel you. Okay, so my problem is that none of that makes sense to me. Let the board decide. If part of being in leadership as a trustee is to know the rules, and even when you're in a pandemic, if it was as much of a pandemic as it is, and it is, and those members could not be orientated to be seated in order to take the vote, then you don't take the vote until you get that done.
That's right.
So I said what I have to say. Rosalie.
So I'm going to do the Jimmy Kimmel in inverse order, so this way we have the biggest point last. Number one, the state guidelines regarding boards, public boards, which Lincoln University's board is considered one, overruled the board, Lincoln University's bylaws and statutes. Lincoln University's bylaws and statutes overruled any committee decisions. If you read the bylaws and statutes of Lincoln University, it is very, very clear that there is no orientation required. In order to prove that, we know that there are other trustees who were appointed by the Commonwealth that were seated immediately. When I and I use that word seated very generally because seated is not a legal term when it comes to board. You're added to the roster in order to vote and participate. So no other board of trustee member has ever been subjected to this. There were 3 board of trustee members who were on the roster as of January. They weren't even notified of the February board meeting. So that part doesn't make any sense. Number 2, let's talk about the board's responsibilities. Mr. Thomas, you are correct in that the board of trustees is trustees, plural, not the chairlady of the board, not the executive committee of the board, but the full board, which is 39 members, not 23. Are responsible for the secretaries, for the president's contract and the renewal of the president's contract. And the fact of the matter is they can do that, but they cannot break the laws in order to do that. So, Number 1, the Sunshine Act of the state of Pennsylvania was broken. Number 2, the Sunshine Act was broken with regards to how they called the meeting. It was the bylaws of the university was broken that required that there be a 30-day notice period, letting the president know that they were going to invoke the 30 days in order to put her on notice that her termination was going to happen. That never happened. Number 2, after that 30-day notice period, the full board has to come back and vote to terminate the president. That never happened. With regards to the notice that's put out, they have to put out a notice, and it has to be specific as to the action that the board is going to take. Look at the agenda that has been put out. There has been the agenda items were so far and wide, they were not specific. They weren't read by the secretary appropriately, so they violated that act. Finally, Mr. Thomas, said that he understands that it has been resolved. Well, we thought it was resolved as well after the governor, after the AG of Pennsylvania and the president's attorney met with the attorney representing, I want to say the board, but it's really representing.
So Rosalie, we're up against the end of our show, and and so just wrap that up because we've got to go out.
So they're still violating the recommendation from a judge now, because the new attendance, the minutes came out today to calling for a meeting on July 31st, and they still have not called for a revote.
We thank you all we thank all of our guests today. It's been a lively show. We appreciate it, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Often I wonder, as I sit all alone, is there anything in life guaranteed? I search for an answer, or even a clue that would satisfy my every